So let's go ahead and add to our notes. We're going to add here, let's put this in a text box. And I really wish I'd left more line space between my sentences and written smaller. Somehow I didn't stick to my own advice. But let's make that a text box, right? So drawing a line through these kinds of things, through this kind of thing. We're drawing a line through this kind of thing. So I'm just drawing from the command that I'm giving you, if you will, the logical command. Draw a line through all these kinds of things. You're also going to draw a line through introductory or transitional phrases and phrases, clauses, sentences. Okay, so some examples are things like furthermore, although, I might think of some other ones, but you can also Google them. All right. So let's go ahead and work through examples 4, 5, and 6 then in our arguments. Remember, if I do something, if you see me write something, you write it too. All right. So I encourage you to pause the video and try applying the content principle of eliminating excess verbiage on your own. Make sure you use your notes. That's what they're there for. And then return to this video when you are done to check your answers and learn from your mistakes. Okay, so this entire phrase is a premise indicating phrase. The core of the premise indicator is in light of the fact, but we have to get rid of the word that so that we don't create a sentence fragment by including it with the rest of that statement. So let's draw a line through it. All right, so then I've got, I am indeed warranted in asserting. This entire thing is a very long conclusion indicating phrase. Warranted is the core indicator word, and then it expands to warranted in asserting that is also indicator, and then this is kind of just, extra verbiage. Then we've got after all. Remember, that's a premise indicator, so we should have gotten rid of that. And then notice, remember 4, 5, and 6 from argument 4? Remember, we didn't label them as anything, and hence they didn't occur in our diagram. They did not occur in our pattern, right? Because they're not functioning in any strictly logical way as part of any argument here. So they don't have a P or C. And the reason why is because they're irrelevant. They might be contextually relevant. They might be connected to the topic, the beliefs or claims that are being expressed in these statements, but they have no strictly logical role to play in terms of supporting the conclusion or in terms of being supported by some other statement in the argument. Therefore, we're going to get rid of this. And do your notes not say that when you are getting rid of excess verbiage, that you have to get rid of anything that is irrelevant? So let's see if we've got that in our notes, because I'm not sure. Rhetorical elements. Oh, okay, so we need to add this to our notes. Let's leave this space blank. I really should have kept this smaller. Let's leave this space blank because I want to add something else there. So anything that is not a statement, how do I want to do this since I did not leave enough room here? Okay, so let's do a text box. If you don't have room right here to do a text box, then just find a place to put a text box. And so I can, if I'm looking for text boxes, I will find it for this page or for this topic. Do a text box and write small. I'm going to write small now. Also eliminate any statements that are not labeled because they are irrelevant and or merely contextual. Okay, So we're also eliminating, we're also drawing a line through some statements. I have seen students towards the end of the semester draw a line through statements that are a premise or conclusion. But why would you do that when the point is to say, here's the premise or the conclusion? You don't want to get rid of any of that. That's part of the argument. So I'm really perplexed by that. Okay, so going back to our example, all of these, they were not labeled because they're irrelevant and or merely contextually related. So we're going to draw a line through all of this. Wow, we got rid of almost half of the stuff in this passage. Okay, so let's go to argument 5. I encourage you to stop and try this on your own. Look at your notes because there's going to be a new example from our notes of stuff to get rid of. So why not review your notes real fast from page 3 and then try this and then return to the video. So I hope you got rid of "you are a moron." Okay, so "you are a moron." What kind of excess verbiage is that? That is an example. That is an example of a rhetorical element that has a psychological role or goal to play in trying to get you to accept a conclusion, but has no logical role. So let's put some examples to reference. Examples. See argument. Which argument is that? Is that number 5? Yeah, see argument 5, page 3. So no, I'll just say argument 5. Just know that when I say see argument 5, I'm talking about this document right here. Okay? See argument 5, S1. So write that down. Then we're going to do a semicolon because I think we have another example coming up. Okay, so there's nothing to get rid of in statement 2 or before or after or in between statement 2 and 1. Here we're going to get rid of the word and. And there's so much to say about and. So we're going to have to take some notes. So notice that we have a statement before this word and. We also have a statement after the word and. So this sentence that has at least 2 statements is just saying, here's a statement. The word and is saying, here's another statement in a way. Okay, so like also, okay, or furthermore. So we are going to get rid of and, but not always. I hate my handwriting, but not always. Only when it is between 2 complete, or I should say 2 statements, or at the beginning of a statement. So an example of where you would not get rid of the word and is when you have a list. Like a list of things. So like if I said, I want apples, oranges, and bananas, okay, you would not get rid of the word and in that instance. Why? Because then you're just saying apples, oranges, and bananas. When you have something like that, where it's a mere list of things, places, or people, so like I lived in Dallas, Fort Worth, and Mesquite, you would not get rid of the word and. This is so important because there are going to be 2 basic ways in which you are likely to see yourselves or others using the word and in the arguments. It's either going to be in between 2 statements that may or may not be functioning as a premise or conclusion, at the beginning of a statement, sometimes kind of like an introductory phrase or word, and sometimes as part of a list of particular nouns, places, things, or people. Make sure you know when to get rid of the word and when not to. Okay, so let's continue to look out for excess verbiage here. Oh, and by the way, let me know if I've missed anything in the comments box. Did I miss any excess verbiage per our list and lessons? Because I already almost missed one right here. Right here, there is a kind of excess verbiage that counts as assurance or assuring. What phrase is that? What needs to be eliminated from statement 3 in argument 5? The assuring phrase is everyone knows. We need to get rid of the word that as well. We can't just say that quacks aren't reliable when it comes to knowledge. That's not a statement. That's not a complete thought. Therefore, you would destroy a complete thought if you left the word that in there when you're getting rid of this assurance that is right in front of it. So you have to get rid of all of that. Okay? What do you have to get rid of here? There's a conclusion indicator. What is it? Hence. Okay? I've just about had it with all the libtards. Okay, so look at all the stuff that's in here. Oh, look, I forgot to put my opening bracket. I'm capturing a mistake. I'm expressing intellectual humility. Like I said, I can get tired like anyone else. I don't know if anybody has pointed this out to me. So it's a disease. That's a statement. And I didn't catch it when I was doing this lesson. So that's 6. This is statement 7. So I have to correct that. Do I need to correct here? No, because the diagram's only S2, 3, and 4. So my diagram's not affected by this correction. Okay, I'm expressing intellectual humility. There's limits to my own knowledge, and sometimes my brain is tired or I get distracted and I make a mistake. All right, so the labels are still correct. We still should not have labeled any of these statements. Let's look at the first one. I've just about had it with all the libtards. That's just a rhetorical element. They're expressing emotions or feelings. Sometimes feelings or emotions can be expressed in a statement as a premise or conclusion, but that's not what's happening here. They're just giving you the psychological context of an argument they just presented in statements 2, 3, and 4. That's all they're doing. It's a disease. He's talking about people that he calls libtards. Of course, that's rude. That's not appropriate. In this class, especially when we have like a discussion, we have a few discussion boards towards the end of the semester, we can't speak to each other like that. Some people speak like that in social media, Facebook, and other platforms. You might talk like that to your friends and call each other idiot and stupid. But when we're engaged with others that we don't know in society, and definitely in this class, it's not appropriate nor respectful to do that. So we don't know each other. We haven't earned that level of intimacy such that we can talk to each other like that and be okay with it. So make sure you don't do that. Okay, so I've just about had it with all the libtards. It's a disease like no other that's ravaging America. So now they're just kind of going up and giving, context or more opinions about what they think about, a certain way of thinking. We already said that this has nothing to do with supporting the truth of the conclusion. None of this has anything to do with showing that the CDC is unreliable. And instead, he's talking about some group of people and the way they think. Now he's giving more of his contextual information, venting, so we're just going to cross that out. So take all that out. And then what's happening to America? And then we've got exclamation, question, question, question. Of course, we didn't bracket it and number it. It's not a statement. It's a what? It's a question. So look at that. Look at all this. A lot of this is merely contextual, venting, giving you psychological context, playing no logical role in any kind of argument. Most of this is just rhetorical elements or rhetorical, I call it a rhetorical smoking, but there's a lot of examples in this argument. So let's say argument 6, S1, and then we're going to say 5, 6, and 7, S1, S5 through S7. So write this down as well because I want you to know where to go for examples. Okay, and this is rhetorical as too. It's a question, so of course that's why it's crossed out. But it is a rhetorical. It's a rhetorical element in the form of a question. Okay, so let's do one more argument in this video. Are you really part of the group that talks about other human beings as libtards and morons? Of course, that's a question. We didn't bracket it or number it, so it should be crossed out, or we should strike it out. Again, if you want to practice, and you should, pause the video. Okay, I had no idea you were like that. Sigh. You're just using a word to, that's just expressing a nonverbal. Look, man, that's a command. We're going to get rid of that. Okay, so finally we have an example. By the way, our example where we had everyone knows that right here, that's an example of assuring, right, or certainty. And then I think is an example of hedging, right, or doubt. Here we finally have an example of discounting. While we may very strongly disagree on the matter of masks and slowing down the coronavirus. So remember one example of a discount indicator is to say, I realize, but, I know you think that, but, all right? So what's going on? The core belief in the statement right here is that in and of itself does not make it okay for you to tag my person with derogatory language. That's the claim that the speaker wishes to advance. Before they advance this claim, they are recognizing that someone, the listener or the reader, might disagree with what they say from here to here, okay? And what is it? What is the possible objection to what they say here? It's this part. It's indicated by the word while, right? And the actual discount is we may very strongly blah, blah, blah. Make sure you get rid of the entire discount. So some people, they'll just get rid of this. Not only that, but they'll represent this whole thing as a statement. But then you created what? A comma splice, okay? And you must represent it. You have to be able to recognize discounting, and you have to get rid of the entire discount, not just the discount indicators. All right, so we got rid of that. Now, we're going in that in and of itself. Okay, the reason being that. Remember, that's what kind of an indicator. Reason is premise. Here, when we read the word reason in context, remember I did a lecture on indicators with the word or some version of the word reason in it, and you should have that on your page 5 notes. The entire indicating phrase is the reason being that. It's a premise indicator. And then, of course, with the last sentence, we take that out because it's a what? Question. So you might want to write this on your warnings page on page 5, or you could write it as a warning on page 1 about bracketing and numbering, or you could write it as a warning on page 3. I'll let you decide. You could say that if something is not bracketed and numbered, it has to be. You have to eliminate it. Okay. So again, if something's not bracketed and numbered, that means it's not a statement, so it should definitely be eliminated. If something is bracketed and numbered, but it has no label, that means it has no logical role to play in the argument, and so sometimes you will also draw a line through things that are bracketed and numbered, but only when the bracketed and numbered statements have no logical role to play as a premise or a conclusion. All right, so we'll end this video here, and then we'll wrap up this part of the lesson for this task with arguments 7 and 8. Maybe you want to go ahead and try those before the next videos, before accessing the next video.